The average cost to respond to an insider threat is $11.45 million. That's a lot of reasons why a functional insider threat program must be a core part of any modern cybersecurity strategy. To protect your organization's sensitive data and meet compliance requirements, you need controls in place to deter, detect, and disrupt insider threats. With ECRAN system, you can meet control requirements imposed by compliance mandates, all within one insider threat management platform. Get your free 30-day trial at securityweekly.com/ECRAN. That's EKRAN, and fulfill your compliance requirements.
Welcome back to Security and Compliance Weekly, our silo-smashing, bridge-building speciality of a show. All right, so I've got some announcements. Do you want to stay in the loop on all things Security Weekly? Visit securityweekly.com/subscribe. To subscribe on your favorite podcast catcher, our YouTube channel, sign up for our mailing list, join our Discord server. You can send Paul some cigar smoke signals. And, Mr. Jeff Mann of PCI fame will also take Morse code because I think he still has one from when he started in the NSA. And also, if you've missed Security Weekly Unlocked, you can now access all of the content on demand, whether you registered before the live event or not, by visiting securityweekly.com/unlocked and clicking either the button to register or the button to log in. It'll take you in either way. We don't care. Doesn't matter to us. Hop on in there, and there's honestly some really good content in there. So please go watch it, okay? All right, let's get back to the discussion.
We're PCI said at least once. Yes!
You asked me, I said it, we're good, right?
Now it's been twice. We're good to go.
All right, good.
Jeff can't beat us today.
He's not here. Of course he can't beat us today.
Yes. No, I'm just messing. We love you, Jeff.
So we were talking prior to the break about the CFAA. We were talking about SolarWinds and the information that they knew or didn't know, lying in sins of omission and commission. Now we're going to switch it up just a little bit. And although it is still very, very related, we're going to be talking about AI and a couple of cases that relate to AI and the usage of data, maybe without your permission, but maybe with. It's not a very clear-cut discussion, even though one of the companies is named Clearview. So Priya, please talk to us about these.
Yes, so this is also pretty fascinating. So the CFAA essentially applies to anyone with a computer connected to the internet. And if you have private information on there and someone accesses it without your authorization, they could be liable. There's three types of information out there. There are things that are totally protected and that you cannot get to without a password or something like that. We're not talking about that information. Then there's the second category, which is information on your servers that is available to some people, right? So maybe somebody works for a company, they have some access. We're not talking about that either. We're talking now in these two cases about information that is totally publicly available. It is on the most public parts of two different companies. We're going to start with Southwest Airlines. Southwest Airlines has a website that anybody can go to. You don't have to put in any passwords, and you can search for flight information, and then you can buy your ticket with Southwest. You can do your entire transaction with them. No special person is required for this. Anybody can do it. Southwest specifically does not let online travel agencies use their data to sell their tickets. So there's a company called Kiwi.com, and Kiwi.com is the defendant in this lawsuit against by Southwest. Kiwi.com uses bots to go in and scrape the information from Southwest's website. And the information they scrape is the flight times and basically all the information you could get if you went into Southwest's website and did your search of how do I go from New York to Tatooine tomorrow. It would give you all your options, and that's the information that...
Wait.
Southwest can get me to Tatooine?
Did you say Tatooine?
Yeah, that's exactly what
Wait a minute.
I want a flight, yes, I want a lightsaber, and I want to be on Yoda.
All of it. I just want to make sure people are paying attention. So you get all that information from Southwest, but Kiwi has sent in their little bots, which, because I'm not a computer person, in my mind is like Pac-Man running around eating the inside of Southwest server and gathering all this data. And Kiwi then presents it on their own site and lets people go to Kiwi and buy that Southwest ticket through Kiwi. And there's two types of user agreements Southwest uses, which I think most companies do that have an online sales platform. One is the kind that just being on their page, there's some user agreement. You don't have to click it, it's just there. Then there's the second time that you actually have to type it. You actually have to click that says, I've seen it, like Apple does this to you, right? I've seen it, I've scrolled up, I agree, right? Southwest has both of these, but what they're using to make their argument for what Kiwi has done wrong is when they're saying anybody who goes on our web pages has to comply with this general user agreement, saying, I'm not going to take this information and do anything else with it. I can either buy this ticket through Southwest or not, but that's it. In addition, Southwest has sent Kiwi a number of cease and desist letters saying, stop it. We explicitly tell you, you are not an authorized user of our website. You cannot go in, you cannot take any data, you cannot do anything with the information that's on the Southwest servers. So now this is the question. When I first talked about the three categories of information that's on computers, one that is locked behind the Fort Knox of passwords, one that is in the locked room, but I had access to be in that room, but I went past my access. And now this is stuff that is on the front lawn, right? Anybody can get it. Southwest's claim is that the CFAA creates a without authorization element when Southwest tells someone specifically, you don't have authorization to use my public information. And
so I walk down the street, Priya, I walk down the street, there's a building there. And the building is this incredibly colorful, wonderful, beautiful Baroque red building, whatever. And there's a sign on the building at about eye level that says you're not allowed to look at the building. I mean, that's literally what we're saying. There's a sign that says, do not look at this building. You're not allowed to look at the building. If you look at the building, you will be sued. And I look at the building and they come out and they grab me and they put me in cuffs and they sue me.
You, Josh.
What's that?
Not the sign actually doesn't say, don't look at the building. It says, Josh, don't look at the building. Right?
So there's actually, wait, there's even a case about that. Have you heard of Vanta Black?
No building for you.
No. Seriously, there's a color called Vanta Black that the company that made the color, it's one of the blackest blacks out there. Only this one artist is allowed to use it. They literally wrote in the, I'm not sure what the trademark or the whatever, but only this one artist is allowed to use it. And nobody else is allowed to use the color for any reason. Like if you come across something that he painted with it and you scrape some of the paint off, using it is illegal. Okay? So it's fascinating that you've got things that are out there in public, but people can't use, look at, see, detect, whatever. And
so that's what's so interesting is because Southwest is saying that this company is not authorized because they've already violated the terms of agreement on our website, but also they're not authorized because we have explicitly banned them, right? And so they're using what I'm sure Kiwi's going to call a ban to meet the element of without authorization, even though the thing is totally in public. And so what they're saying to the court is Kiwi has violated the CFAA by violating our cease and desist letter that should stop them from looking at something that is on public view, right? But they have the added element that Kiwi did something, and so this is something you guys should understand about law. Law is not really math. Law is like math and feelings, right? When the parties involved in a case, when someone's got dirty hands, it impacts how the case comes out. So what Kiwi did with this information from Southwest is it's not like they just put it up and showed people, like, you could go from Southwest, it would be $400. You could go from United, it would be $500. Kiwi changed the product that Southwest was selling in a way that really hurt Southwest's brand. Partially, they added fees, right? So on Southwest, you could buy the ticket for, let's say, $400. If you went on Kiwi, they would show you the same Southwest ticket, and they would charge you $450 for it. And then Kiwi did something that's even sneakier, which is part of the Southwest brand and why they're so successful is they're very transparent. They don't charge their customers change fees. They don't charge them for canceling. They don't blah, blah, blah. They don't have hidden costs. What Kiwi did is said, we're going to take that same $400 ticket. We're going to sell it to you for $450. But if you want it to come with these perks, like no change fees, you're going to pay $600 for it. So they're making a profit on Southwest's longstanding policy, right? And they've created a price for something for which there is no price. And so there's a bunch of fraud kind of going on. They're taking someone's product that you could have bought for less, and they're making you pay more for it. And as a consequence, people who bought these Southwest tickets through Kiwi are then complaining to Southwest because they want services. Like one of the things Kiwi said is if you then pay, let's say $650, you can do an online check-in. Southwest doesn't actually give anybody the right to do that. And so those people who bought the ticket through Kiwi are now calling Southwest and complaining, I'm about to get on the flight, I tried to check in, there's no such thing. And that's sort of how this kerfuffle came to be. And Kiwi is also pretty amazing and shameless. When Southwest kept sending them cease and desist letters, sent Southwest their own metrics to show, look at how many of your tickets we've sold. And in fact, made offers to them to go into partnership together. And I'm going into a little bit of these details because I'm going to compare and contrast what's happening in the LinkedIn case with the behavior of the players here. So we're waiting to see what happens in the federal court in the Southwest case, where Southwest is trying to use the CFAA to stop the behavior of a third party that's using its completely publicly available information. So if you guys wanted to talk about that before I move on, LinkedIn, we can do that.
Web scraping has been around for a very long time. Okay, we've been doing web scraping in IT and Web 2.0 projects or whatever, until they came up with APIs and they were widely available. Web scraping was monstrous. Okay, and it's just been, it was normal back in the day. So the idea of doing web scraping, I sort of don't have a problem with on a personal level because we've all done it. But the problem, I think, obviously the additional services for what Kiwi is doing, it's simply an arbitrage play. They're scalping tickets, if you will. The additional services, especially the services that Southwest doesn't offer, and so Southwest is incurring increased support costs because of things they didn't do. Oh wow, that's just ugly as sin. Okay, I'm the first to be like, that's rude.
And it's damage to their brand, right? The people who fly Southwest really love the way Southwest treats them, and now they feel screwed, right? And that's a huge problem for any company, especially airlines, where you want loyalty and you reward loyalty in all sorts of ways. As soon as your loyal base feels disrespected or swindled, you have a major problem.
Yeah, I mean, and honestly, I don't like arbitrage plays a lot either. Ticket scalpers, for me, can mostly go fall into lava pit. Let's be honest. Okay? So while it's understandable, it's not exactly what I would consider polite. So I guess the web scraping, okay. The arbitrage or ticket scalping, and the additional services, that's just plain old rude. So I would honestly, in my personal opinion, and Scott, I'd love to hear what your opinion is. I'm okay with them suing.
I'm actually good with it as well. My question is how would this be spun in future precedents where things are being scraped to further the drill down of CFAA into business deals?
That's a segue. Segue to LinkedIn.
Great question, because you have two parties here, right? You have Southwest, who has this product and they're a company and they're clearly being damaged. And then you have Kiwi, who's profiting off of this. But then the party that no one's really talking about is the public, right? The reason Southwest has their website totally publicly available benefits Southwest, but also benefits the public, right? Like anybody could go on there and find out, is this the best ticket for me? And so the question is, does Southwest prevailing on stopping Kiwi It definitely helps Southwest. It hurts Kiwi. Does it help the public, right? Is it better for all of us sitting at home trying to get tickets to Tatooine, right? Is it better for us to be able to just go on our web server and go onto Southwest and look at it? Should there be barriers, right? Should Southwest have to basically stop everybody, back to your example of the building, should Southwest have to cover its building and allow people one by one passage after they've proved that they are not going to abuse seeing it? And that's a really interesting question. Does telling someone to stop looking at something that's in the public make it without authorization for the purposes of creating liability?
Priya, I just want to say these are not the tickets you were looking for.
I so love that you have that. Okay, so.
Oh, that he has that? Do you have any idea what he has? Dear bloody Lord, cut to Priya. Sorry, you got to see this.
Are we just going to play this? Because this is my lip balm. Like we can go for hours. My whole office is Star Wars stuff. Okay,
so
you're
going to make him drag. Oh dear God, it's going to be ugly, Priya. Okay. Let's move to the LinkedIn case before we go into a Star Wars war, okay?
Right. So LinkedIn is fascinating because what LinkedIn has done is it has 3 levels of data that it keeps. It keeps stuff that the user can go in and say, nobody gets to look at this unless they are also a LinkedIn Prime member or something like that. Then it has the user who's like, some of my stuff people can see, some of my stuff I want to keep private. And then they have the users who's probably most people who are like, anybody can look at this. It's actually very helpful for me, for randoms to be able to use the LinkedIn search function and find me, right? Or for me to find somebody through this. So we're talking only about that last category of there are people who go on there and say, I'm taking a storefront window and I'm putting my pieces in the window and anybody walking by can see them, right? So LinkedIn has this. A company called HIQ, H-I and then capital Q, has been scraping LinkedIn and other sites for a long time. And here's a little bit of history, which will become relevant in a second. HIQ has been doing this openly and notoriously. And what they do is they take information that's only the public information. They have their bots go in and they eat all the public information from LinkedIn. And by the way, LinkedIn allows bots because they want Google, for example, and Bing to be able to pull up this information. That's part of what's so good for LinkedIn is having the right bots, right? These are the bots you're looking for. Come in and go through their server and help promote them, right? So they're not an anti-bot site. They're only anti-some bots. So HiQ has been taking this information from LinkedIn and other companies, and then they have their own analytics. And what they think they can predict is they can go to a company and say, okay, you have this employee and they're really talented and you should try to keep them. And I'm telling you this by comparing them to other people who are sort of similarly situated. And these are people you should try to retain. And so a company might find that information useful. Someone else coming in and basically looking at their talent pool and saying, these are your 5 stars. These 5 people who can become stars, but you need to give them these skills. And then these 5 people they gotta go, right? So that's what HiQ has been selling. That's their product. And their product comes from the data they have mined from places like LinkedIn. So HiQ has been doing this openly and notoriously. And in fact, people from LinkedIn have gone to conferences that HiQ has put on to show this is what we do. And in fact, HiQ has given somebody who worked at LinkedIn an award, right? So I'm saying this because it has been open and notorious. And LinkedIn knew this has been going on for years. So what changed? What changed is that LinkedIn created its own product that basically is competing with HiQ's product. It's supposed to do, maybe it's called HiQ, I'm not sure. But it's supposed to offer to companies those same analytics, right? LinkedIn is like, well, why don't we just mine our own data and get our own actuaries and statisticians to come up with algorithms and predict this. So now that LinkedIn has created its Burger King to HiQ's McDonald's, it's saying what HiQ did is actually illegal. Even though they knew they've been doing it.
It's funny you'd say this. It's Josh, hold on. It's funny you'd say this because there is a certain cloud provider right now that watches the systems that you put on their cloud platform, and if they think that you're doing something right, it's flattery when they clone you to their service.
So let me be less delicate and say that there are certain cloud providers that are alleged to invest in various startups so they can get access to your IP so that they can then create the service on their own.
And screw it up in the process. I mean, let's be honest.
Well, that's normal, yes. Priya, by the way, people are asking in the Discord about Clearview, and this is the same case, or is this a different case with Clearview and LinkedIn and HiQ?
So Clearview comes into this. So the question with the CFAA for LinkedIn is LinkedIn has said to a court that I want to stop HiQ from this behavior, right? And they're using, amongst other arguments, CFAA, and they're saying what they're doing is illegal. And LinkedIn is based in California. California is in the 9th Federal Circuit. So there's 12 circuits in the country, federal circuits, and each circuit covers multiple cases. And here's why this becomes relevant. When the circuits have a split, meaning the courts in California, Washington that are in the 9th Circuit have a different law than the same sister federal courts in the 2nd Circuit, which includes New York, you end up with chaos, right? So LinkedIn is saying, we're in California, and we sent a cease and desist letter to HiQ, similar to how Southwest sent one to Kiwi. And LinkedIn is saying, in the 9th Circuit, that letter should create without authorization. Even though all this information is in public, it makes it without authorization, and therefore HiQ has violated the CFAA, and they should be stopped. And one of LinkedIn's arguments is that the 1st Circuit, which is the circuit that includes like the northeast tip of America, so like Vermont,
right.
And that area coming down, they have a totally different outcome. They have a case. Their law under that circuit is if you send the cease and desist letter, it does become without authorization. But the 9th Circuit says it doesn't. And that's super relevant because so many tech companies actually live in the 9th Circuit, right? This is California, Silicon Valley.
Wait a minute. Isn't the 9th Circuit the one that says that Wi-Fi is illegal?
That Wi-Fi is illegal.
It's illegal to intercept Wi-Fi in the 9th Circuit, which means that technically connecting to it is illegal because you're intercepting the signal. So technically in California, it's illegal to use Wi-Fi, even though like they give it away. Long story. Never mind. Totally separate legal issue. My apologies. I just remembered that off the top of my head.
Hello, 2013 called. They want their case back.
Well, yeah, no joke. No, so we've only got a few minutes left.
The reason this becomes really interesting is so now the LinkedIn people have gone to the Supreme Court, right, which is still waiting to decide that other case of the cop and using authorization for an illegal purpose, whether that becomes without authorization. Now they're being asked by LinkedIn to decide whether a cease and desist letter to someone using totally public information makes it without authorization for the CFAA. And all these amicus groups have gotten involved. And this is what's so fascinating, is the amicus groups means that there's only two parties in any case. There's the plaintiff and the defendant, and both of those have their own arguments, and their arguments really have to pertain to their own interests. But often a case involves other people's interests who aren't represented, and that's what an amicus brief is. It means it's Latin for friend of the court. So someone whose rights are going to be determined, but who's not actually a party to the case, can ask the court to be heard. And so a public interest group called EPIC, whose job it is to represent the public in these disputes, right? Because this is between LinkedIn, who makes money, and HiQ, who makes money. But who's really representing like me and you, who have public data out there, right? Who's advancing our arguments? And so that's one of the things that EPIC is doing. And this is where Clearview comes in, because there's this great way of looking at it that's way too simple that Josh, you sort of touched on, which is you have a building, the front of the building, everybody can see it. What are you talking about? Obviously, the person who made the building knew it was outside, right? The internet's not exactly like that because, one, most people who use the internet are not computer people, right? They don't understand exactly what the coding is. They don't, even if they read the user agreement, they don't really know what any of that means. So the only way to really control their, protect their privacy is to have the companies that they're contracting with be under some sort of regulation. So now let's say you go onto LinkedIn and you say, I agree, LinkedIn, for you to let everybody see these things about me, right? And so maybe a bot comes and scrapes it and like, how are you really going to complain? Because you said that anybody could see this. But now when those bots take that information and they combine it with other information they're scraping off the internet. So maybe you told LinkedIn, sure, you can have this photo of me and these 3 details about me. But now this bot, and now we're getting into clear view, is using artificial intelligence to go and find other data about you that you might not know that you posted, right? You might not know that your, dummy cousin is tagging you in all these photos on Facebook. Maybe you're not even on Facebook, right? You've made sure you didn't put this information out there, but somebody else has. So now you are technically in the public, but you didn't really consent to being in the public. And you certainly didn't consent for these other companies to take these data points, be they random or be they from an algorithm, and put them together in a way that you definitely didn't agree to, you probably don't understand. And then worse, someone's making a conclusion about that data, right? Somebody's maybe looking at these things and saying, based on your face, based on these types of photos that they found about you, based on the schools you went to, based on the people you're friends with, we are now going to predict in, pick your Will Smith movie, what type of person you are, right? And we're going to then sell that predictive behavior to some other company. And that's where you get into all of these sort of, I would say crazy, because we can't really predict what they all are, but they're so fast moving, all these AI companies and what they're doing with this data, and the law is just trying to catch up. So that's where we are on the AI. It hasn't been decided, and I don't think it's ever going to be decided at the rate in which it's progressing. So we currently have companies that could scrape this information that is totally public, that could add it to other information that was public but you didn't consent to or didn't even know that it was out there, and then create a product that is entirely their own, which may be reliable, not reliable, but could really affect your life.
Okay. So I'm going to stop you right there for a second, because, oh my God, the amount of issues you just raised in the last 30 seconds, lady, unbelievable. And by the way, we haven't even mentioned compliance in terms of, if I collect the data now, before the court case gets decided, and then I hold the data through when it gets decided, and let's say there's California people in there, I'm making this up, CCPA or CPRA, the new version, and then there's GDPR for any European version, any European people, which of course there's plenty of them in LinkedIn, and so many different compliance regimes about customer data privacy and consumer data privacy. Oh my God, the implications are monstrous. So what I want to do, I don't want to get into that right now, although I'd love to at the after party if you'd care to join us, Priya. Just saying, in the after party on Discord. But what I'd like to do now in our last couple of minutes is actually just get our predictions. And I'd like to ask Priya for your prediction and Scott for yours about what you think. Where do you think these cases are going to go? And where do you think this is going to end up, if you have any thoughts about that?
So one prediction is this is like, the snake coming back to eat its tail from the beginning of the conversation. What you just said, Josh, is really relevant, because now if a company is watching the outcome of these cases and waiting to see what happens, they may be sitting on some sort of technology that could have made it like $1 trillion company, right? And let's say they're sitting on it and they don't employ it for 10 months because they're waiting for the outcome of this case. Do those investors now have a right to sue that company for not launching this product that could have made their stock even more valuable?
Oh, Priya, I hate you. Oh my God. Do you know how many lawsuits you're starting now? And oh wait, you're a lawyer. Huh.
I'm actually not even that kind of lawyer.
I know. I couldn't resist. Okay, but that's a really good point.
My prediction is this is going to be way, way, way messier, and probably the current existing government agencies that are dealing with it are wholly inadequate, and we need to come up with other probably global agencies that deal with this, because as you said, who cares what the US courts say when LinkedIn is used all over the world?
Okay, Scott, you're up.
My prediction is that social media needs to die.
Oh my God, I agree.
100%. You look at what's going on. Social media is supposed to be social. So things are supposed to be out on the internet. But unfortunately, nobody's really come up with the correct solution for privacy. We have GDPR, we have CCPA, which is supposed to protect stuff. Does it protect across the board? No. Do people actually care? No. Not until they're whacked by it. Social media needs to die.
Okay, that's a bit of an extreme prediction, and I'm not sure that it's going to be able to be brought about in the near future, but okay.
Yo, dog, listen, I heard you like AI, so I built a bot to AI your bot. Okay.
Oh, we even got our off screen to come on. Thank you, Johnny.
Yes.
So
no,
okay.
seriously, my prediction is that there is no real way to fix this, and it's not going to be fixed, whether it's in the courts or it's by government regulation or it's by companies actually doing the stuff that they should be doing to protect their users. The fix for this is not going to be at least for 10 to 15 years, and that speed, unfortunately, is going to match just how long it takes the courts to actually catch up to what's going on. Does that make sense?
I like that. I got to say, Scott, I really like that your timeline, 10 to 15 years, because by then it'll be over one way or the other. Do you know what I mean? It'll either be everything's open and the whole world can use whatever the hell they can find that's not behind locked doors, or it's going to be so locked down that you can't use it unless you get explicit permission. So it's going to be an explicit permit or an explicit deny, one way or the other, in about probably 5, 10, 15 years, somewhere in there.
Or an explicit permit deny, like the middle ground, you know? Realistically, it's up to company executives to stop looking at the bottom line and saying we're going to placate our investors and make nothing but money. You know, damn the torpedoes. Company owners, business leaders need to take it upon themselves to go above and beyond to protect their product. Their product, unfortunately, is people. So how are they actually going to do it? That's not going to be solved right now, and it's not going to be solved for 10 to 15 years. We're going to be looking back at this and saying, well, we've had a cyber Armageddon recently with SolarWinds and all of that. We've had multiple court cases trying to battle where the demarcation is for CFAA, which, by the way, in my own humble opinion, needs to die and go away, be rewritten, repealed. I don't care. Get rid of it. It doesn't work. It's very difficult to sit back and say, okay, if we're getting rid of it, what are we replacing it with? How does that look being charted forward for businesses to follow as a prescriptive guidance?
Nicely said, Scott. And so with that, I think we're going to close out this episode of Security and Compliance Weekly. We've had a great discussion about SolarWinds, about HIQ, Clearview, LinkedIn, Southwest Airlines, web scraping, which brings me back 15 years. Priya Chaudry has been fantastic. Priya, what's your law firm's website?
Solarwinds.com.
I'm sorry, Priya, I didn't mean to catch you in the middle of drinking something, but yeah, ChaudryLaw.com. Yep. And it's been a fascinating discussion. The Discord has been incredibly complimentary. We've been getting compliments on YouTube and Discord about how wonderful the discussion was. Thank you. Just a reminder, everybody, we are not having an episode next week, so we'll be back in 2 weeks' time. And I believe it's going to be Flea on as our rotating co-host, but I could be wrong. That will be up to Mr. Jeff Mann as he comes back from his PCI vacation. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you for being with us on this episode 61 of Security and Compliance Weekly, where we work to build bridges and tear down silos.